Hello everyone, welcome to Mathswheels. In this session, we will study how to find solution or roots of a quadratic equation by completing the square method. Let's take first example. X minus 2 into x plus 4 equals to 2x plus 1. Now if you solve this, we get x square plus 2x minus 8 equals to 2x plus 1. Now again solving this, we get x square minus of 9 equals to 0. 9 goes to the right, we get x square equals to 9. So x equals to plus, if we take the square root on both sides, we get plus minus 3. So x equals to 3 and x equals to minus 3. These are the two roots of the quadratic equation we get. Now, while simplifying this equation, if you observe this step, this can be written as x square equals to 3 square. So both left hand side and right hand side are completely inside the square. And we found the roots just by taking the square root of both sides. Similarly, if we take second example, that is x plus 2 whole square minus of 9 equals to 0, and if we solve this, what we get? X plus 2 square equals to 9, and if we take the square root on both sides, we get x plus 2 equals to plus minus of 3. So x equals to 3 minus 2 and x equals to minus 3 minus 2. So what we get? X equals to 1 and x equals to minus of 5. So 1 and minus 5. These are the two roots we got for the given quadratic equation. In this example, if you observe the first step, both left hand side and right hand side are completely inside the square. And we found the roots just by taking the square root on both the sides, right? What do we mean by completing the square method? It means we can convert any quadratic equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0 into this form, that is x plus a whole square equals to b square. Here we are actually converting the quadratic equation into a completing the square form. That just by taking the square root, we can easily find the roots of the quadratic equation. Now, let's understand how to convert any quadratic equation into this form. Okay, for completing the square method or to convert any quadratic equation into this form, we have three basic steps. What are those? Let's understand those steps with third example. 3x square minus 5x plus 2 equals to 0. So our step 1 is writing the x terms on left hand side. So what would be the quadratic equation here? The terms containing x are 3x square and minus 5x. So keep it on left hand side. 3x square minus 5x equals 2. This constant 2 goes on right. We get minus of 2. Now in this example you can see coefficient of x square is 3. Now how to make it 1? If we divide the complete equation by 3, we will get the coefficient of x square as 1, right? So that is our step 2. That is dividing the equation by coefficient of x square. What do we mean by that? We are actually making the coefficient of x square as 1. Now in this example, the coefficient of x square is 3. Now to make this coefficient as 1, what we can do? We can divide the complete equation by 3. So we will get the coefficient of x square as 1. So that is our second step. So let's divide this equation by 3. What will get? X square minus 5 by 3x equals to minus 2 by 3. Now the next step is step 3, that is taking half of coefficient of x. Whatever we get, take the square of it and add that on both left hand side and right hand side of the equation. In this example, coefficient of x is 5 by 3. So what is the half of 5 by 3? If we multiply it by 1 by 2, we get half of 5 by 3. So that is 5 by 6. Now take the square of this. Add this term on left hand side and right hand side of the equation. What we get in step 3? Get x square minus 5 by 3x plus 5 by 6 whole square equals to minus 2 by 3 plus 5 by 6 whole square. So we have added 5 by 6 whole square, this term, on both left hand side and right hand side. If you observe this complete left hand side, this is in the form of a square minus 2ab plus b square. So if we simplify this, we get a minus b whole square. So x minus 5 by 6 whole square, this would be our left hand side, equals to minus 2 by 3, and if we solve this, 5 square 25, 6 square 36. So left hand side as it is. What would be the right hand side? If you solve this, you get 1 by 36. That means 1 by 36 can be written as 1 by 6 whole square. And left hand side also we have seen x minus 5 by 6 whole square. If you observe, this step is in the form of x plus a whole square equals to b square, right? So now we have converted the quadratic equation into a completing the square form. Now let's take the square root on both sides. What we get? X minus 5 by 6 equals to plus minus 1 by 6. That means x equals to 5 by 6 plus 1 by 6 and x equals to 5 by 6 minus 1 by 6. So we get x equals to 1 and x equals to 2 by 3. Now let's take one more example and solve it using completing the square method. Number 4, that is 2x square minus 5x plus 3 equals to 0. So our first step is writing the x terms on left hand side. So 2x square minus 5x, let's keep it on left hand side. We get 2x square minus 5x equals to minus 3. Now second step is making the coefficient of x square as 1. That means dividing the complete equation by the coefficient of x square. So what is coefficient of x square? 2. So let's divide the complete equation by 2. We get x square minus 5 by 2x equals to minus 3 by 2. Now our step 3 is taking the coefficient of x, that is 5 by 2, taking half of this, that means 5 by 4, making the square of this and adding this on both left hand side and right hand side. So what will we get? It is x square minus 5 by 2x plus 5 by 4 whole square equals to minus 3 by 2 plus 5 by 4 whole square. Now we can see this is in the form of a square minus 2ab plus b square. So we can convert it into a minus b whole square, that is x minus 5 by 4 whole square equals to minus 3 by 2 plus 5 square 25 and 4 square 16. Now this is 1 by 16. So what we get? X minus 5 by 4 whole square is nothing but 1 by 4. 16 we can write as 4 square. So 1 by 4 whole square. Now if we take the square root on both left hand side and right hand side, what we get? X minus 5 by 4 equals to plus minus of 1 by 4. So x equals to 5 by 4 plus 1 by 4 and x equals to 5 by 4 minus 1 by 4. So we get x equals to 3 by 2 and x equals to 1 here. So these are the roots we got for the given quadratic equation by using the completing the square method. So we simply have to follow these 3 steps, step 1, step 2 and step 3 to find the roots of the quadratic equation.